Hello everybody and welcome back to Ruler 101. This week I'm trying a little bit of a different thing. I think this setup is going to be a little bit easier to use and will cut down on my editing time. So, yay me, lazy. If you don't like it, however, please let me know in the comments. I'll probably just go back to how I was doing it in that case. But I think this is just going to be a lot better to work with. Anyway, as you can see, we're covering a wonderful ruler over there, the Crimson Girl in the Sky. She is one of the most iconic characters of Force of Will. She has been around since the beginning. Well, the second set, technically. However, she has been in every cluster. Every cluster! In some form or another. Actually, I don't think she was in Antarctica. But she has been a staple for a very long time. Usually she operates off of magic stones. However, her ruler would not lead you to believe that. But let's get right into her and see how things work. Crimson Girl in the Sky. Ruler, little girl.
Doesn't look too little to me.
But enough creeping over anime girls. She has J activate. Pay 0. Play this ability only if you put Refarth, the castle in heaven, into a field this turn. Free judgment is always good, especially because her J ruler side is the tits, and not literally stop. She also has a J activate of 2 green and 1, so she already flips for pretty cheap. But if you can get that free flip, you then have like other spells that you can play to cancel or buff or whatever. But let's jump in right into her J ruler side. Little Red, the true fairy tale. Now she has a wall of text that I will get into in a moment, but she is a ruler, fairy tale, ancient. Personal tangent, ancient. What is it? What do? Do they have a specific archetype? I've seen it just tacked onto things sometimes, and for the life of me, I have never seen like a big ancient, like something that does things to ancients specifically, or even like some support for ancients. Why does it exist? Why do you put that out there? Why is it on some Resonators? Why is it randomly on others? I don't know. I want to know, and it confuses me, and I'm just like, Also, shout out to the bear who got cape blocked. Rest in peace. Anyway, she has continuous. This card cannot be targeted by darkness or fire spells or darkness or fire abilities. Already, she is awesome because she dodges all of the J ruler destruction in black and all of the damage in red. In order to kill her, you would have to use one of the very rare light spells that can destroy a J ruler or take away her abilities in combination with another destroy effect. So at minimum, you're going to have to play 2 spells to kill her. Not at minimum, but at minimum, if you're not running, what is it, Lumia's Light of Judgment to kill her? I think that's it. The light card, 2 light and 1 to destroy target rested anything, I think. But other than that, like, besides having a huge precision monster, it's not going to do anything. Not going to do much. Anyway, she also has 2 other abilities that were so fun and amazing that I made 2 lists. That's right, you get a double dose of lists today, because she's super fun to build around. Continuous. If a spell or ability would increase attack or defense of Resonators you control, it increases double that much instead. Already amazing. It turns Giant Growth from a 4/4 to an 8/8, but we'll see that in a bit. And it turns, like, all of your standard buffs into huge buffs. Mind you, it has to be a spell or ability. +1/+1 counters are not affected. However, there are a lot of abilities that could really, really benefit from this. But we'll get into those later. She also has Continuous. If a spell or ability would decrease attack or defense of Resonators you control, it decreases none instead. Go to hell, final battle, eat your heart out, bye-bye. Love it, love it, love it. I would also like to point out that this works on negatives that you yourself put in the field. While I'm not showcasing it in this video, Alice's World of Madness that gives -2/-2 to all Resonators. If she's on your field, only your opponent's Resonators are getting debuffed, so food for thought. She's also an 800 1000, Pretty decent stat line. If she was any bigger, I would have to kind of say it's a bit too strong. However, where she's at is just fine. I want to see a J-Ruler focus deck of her. I personally did not build one, but I'd like to see one. Like using Flying Cloud and maybe some Regalia. It'd be pretty sweet. Anyway, moving on. Refarth the Castle in Heaven. Remember her ruler side? This is the card that you need to play. 1 green and 1 for an addition field. Continuous. Resonators you control gain +100/+100. That's static. That exists forever. If it's on her J-Ruler side, it's +200/+200. It's a small buff. However, it is a significant buff. Because this turns all Tamas into... What was it? It's a 2/2. It turns them all into 3/3s. So, like... They don't trade anymore. Your opponent can't just be like, start the Tama train. Boom, 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 boom. Or if you have like just if you're in the mirror match, or if you're in some kind of situation where they have the same thing as you, you will always win. So it's good. And when you flip Little Red, if you have more than one Refarth, your Resonators are going to get pretty big. But even if it's not giving you that much, or if you really, really, really need to, you can banish it to get like that last little smidgen of damage in. Because it has an activate, banish this card, target Resonator gains +400/+400 until end of turn. So, say your opponent's on that last bit of damage, you have 2 Refarths on the field, you have your J-Ruler on the field, you swing in with all your Resonators, your last Resonator you go, I'm going to banish my Refarths to it, and give it +16/+16. Did you just die? I think you did. I thank you. In its base form, it's okay. It doesn't draw you a card, but it is a blanket buff that turns into a huge buff. Also, it gives her the ability to flip for free, so, you know, it's okay. Like, flipping turn 2, or, no, turn 1, or, flipping turn 3, unless you have, like, a Flute's Water Dragon. Flute's Water Dragon plus this equals turn 2 flip, and then you're like, come at me, bro. It's beautiful. But we also have backup cards. These, the following, I think, 2 cards are in both of the decks, so I wanted to cover them first. Starting with Little Red herself. Little Red, Fairy Tale of Air. See, as I said, she was printed as a Resonator multiple times. 1 green for a 300/300. This card gains +100/+100 for each wind magic stone you control. This card gains swiftness as long as you control a non-special wind magic stone. Now, the swiftness is cool, and it can do some crazy things late game, but the big part is the buff for the wind. In any green deck, she's a decent attacker just because you're throwing her down. In Grim, she becomes a really big swiftest Resonator late game because you're calling stones every turn, and then she hits the field, and then she's buffed, and she goes, "Argh!" But when she is paired up with herself via J-Ruler, her buff becomes +2/+2 per each wind magic stone you control. If you're on turn 4 or 5 and you have delayed or called more stones, and you have like 3 or even 4 or even 3 stones, you're getting a +6/+6 or even a +8/+8 buff. Little Red gets enormous, especially late game when you combine her with her ruler. Also, the bear is back. Its face is now in focus and is not blocked. So he's been revived. Next up, we have the pump spell that I was talking about earlier. Rapid Growth, 1 green. It has Remnant, so you can play it from your graveyard a second time. Target J Resonator gains +400/+400 until end of turn. It's a chant instant. So with your J Ruler out, it's a +8/+8 buff. It's amazing for finishing games. But even without your J Ruler, even without her, if you're not using her, or if she died, or if you just haven't flipped her yet, it's still an insane buff. This turns a lot of trades into wins, and also turns a lot of chump blocks into trades. Like, you throw this on a Tama, it's gonna kill a Lancelot. Like, wrap your mind around that, buddy. But because it has Remnant, you can let it go to the graveyard and then cast it again in the same turn, or even leave it for a rainy day. So you can use it a lot early on, and then later, after you flip your J-Ruler, you can use it again for a +8/+8. And again, just like if you have 2 refars, you will always have 2 rapid growths as long as you draw at least 1. So that plus 16 can be yours for the low cost of 2 wind. That's amazing. That's really, really strong. Basically, Little Red does this, turns these average okay meh cards into godlike entities of amazingness. But let's move on to the ones from the deck. The first deck I designed, called Red Riot, is a red-green deck. Now, I'm not doing red, blue, green. There's a card, and those of you who know about it, shame on you. You should never use that. It's cheap. But if you want to look it up, it's Lars. What is it? The Lapis 4 Lars. Anyway, Nyarlathotep, the realized truth. 2 red for a 400/600 Will of Hope flying resonator. Release the seal abilities of fire cards on spells you control. That's like for 2. But she has an activate ability that makes things oh so beautiful, oh so lovely, and oh so broken. So, one will. Target J Resonator you control gains plus 200, minus 200 until end of turn. On the surface, it's okay. Like, it's pretty cool fire breathing. You can turn herself into a 600, 400, or even an 800, 200 if you're not afraid about getting exploded. And you can buff your Resonators at will, basically. And it's colorless, so you never have to worry about, oh, I need red for this, or I need whatever for this. But the power comes when you flip your J Ruler, because this suddenly becomes 1 will, target J Resonator you control gains plus 400 plus 0 until end of turn. Because remember, minuses are negated, pluses are increased. Doubled. So this becomes monstrous. Like, for 1 will, even if you only have Nyarlathotep. Say you play her on turn 2, let's go like this. Turn 1, you play something that lets you get a stone, like a Flute's Water Dragon or what have you, and you call stone. Then turn 2, you call stone, play Nyarlathotep. Turn 3, you call stone, J Ruler flip, or you play a Refarth and flip on turn 3. Then Nyarlathotep swings. She's buffed by 2, so she is a 600, 800, and then you have 1 will left over. You can then turn her into a 1,800. And if you want to get even crazier, you can then banish that Refarth to turn her into, what was it? Because she loses minus 2, so she becomes an 800, but she gets plus 800, so she would become a 1616. There you go. There you go. Wonderful. Amazing. Beautiful. Strong. Especially in this deck. Also, for 2 will, a 4/6 flyer, pretty cool. Pretty cheap. Of course, I have to mention him because he has a self buff and because he does things when his attack is huge. Lancelot, the Knight of Mad Demon. 2 red, swiftness. As you choose a card to attack, you must choose this card if able, so he always has to attack first. Now, note that doesn't say it has to attack each turn. Only if you attack, he must attack. She also has, whenever this card attack, if this card's attack is 1,000 or more, this card deals 700 damage to target Resonator. And then he's got the Kicker ability. 1 red, this card gains plus 100 plus 0 until end of turn. Again, J Ruler, it becomes plus 200 plus 0 until end of turn. You pay 2 red, he swings, deals 700 damage to something, and hits your opponent in the face. But that's not really why we're running him. We're running him because he combos even better with his natural combination that I personally have dubbed ame-no-Lancelot. Because you always put it on Lancelot. Or if you're playing the big man himself, you'll put it on, Susanoo. But normally it goes on Lancelot. That card, ame-no-habakiri. 2 red, continuous. Added Resonator gains plus 400 plus 400. Plus 8 if you have your J Ruler. Continuous. Whenever added Resonator deals damage to a Resonator your opponent controls, this card deals that much damage to that Resonator's controller. Oh my god. Chump blocks? Doesn't matter. doesn't matter. I'm gonna hit you in the face anyway. Lancelot's 700 damage that he throws out. If you hit a Resonator your opponent controls, that Resonator is dead, and your opponent takes 700 to the face. And if you're J-Ruler, Lancelot becomes a 14/14 with Super Pierce. I can't. It's too good. It's too beautiful. It's too good. But that's not the only red spell that we're using. Because speaking of Pierce... Oh yeah! One of my favorite cards in the game. Banzai Attack. 2 red and 2 for a spell chant. Resonators you control gain plus 700 plus 0 and Pierce until end of turn. At the end of turn, destroy all Resonators and J-Ruler you control. The second ability, oh Jesus. But the first, oh my god. Even Banzai Attack, in its own, is an amazing game ender. Because Pierce, all your stuff, like chump blocks, eat your heart out. But the plus 700 attack plus the Pierce makes everything you attack just explode your opponent beyond belief. They are not going to be able to... what is it? I mean, you got to be careful though. Like if they're playing a fog deck and they fog you, you're gonna cry. But if they can't do anything to stop you, this is going to end the game. Doubly so again if you have your J-Ruler out, because suddenly this is plus 14 plus 0 in Pierce. That little Tama is now a 16/200 Pierce. Oh, dear sweet Jesus. And that Lancelot? That 600 attack Lancelot? Oh, you know, he's just a 2,600. Puddin' pops. Oh, Jesus. Oh, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Now, I'm going to do my first editing of the video to show you the list that is Red Riot. Ooh. Look at it. Basically, red-green aggro. There you go. If you want to include Lars, do so at your own peril, but no, I will call you a jerk. Because this is some bullshit, y'all know it. That's some weird rulings. But, look it up. Let's move on to my next list, which is a blue-green list. Because I just couldn't help myself, I had to put blue in it. Mainly because of the Resonators, starting with Cinderella Valkyrie of Glass. Okay. This card has never seen play in anything ever, because bleh. 2 blue, 200, 800, okay? Weird. This card enters when this card enters your field, put a glass counter on it. So it's an automatic ability that can be canceled. This card gains plus 600 0 as long as it has a glass counter on it. That's an ability. So I don't need to tell you that she's a 14/800 with your J-Ruler, but normally she's an 800/800 as herself. Whenever this card deals damage, remove a glass counter from it. So she does have that drawback in that you have to play her again and again in order to take full advantage of that glass counter. But how many times are you going to need to play her if she's exploding your opponent's face? For 14. Or 16, actually. No, 14. But the real reason I play her is her activate ability. 2 blue, return this card to its owner's hand. She is so... you can protect her however much you want, forever and a day, as long as you have the will, and because she costs 2, you could always just leave that will up later on. And also, just as a 2-cost Resonator, her stats are amazing. It doesn't matter, like, try not to block with her, because even if you block something small, she's gonna lose her glass counter. So, save her for the big attack. And if you can somehow, in some way, probably through optional possession, which I didn't think of before I designed the deck, so I'm sad, you could give her flying, and then she would be evil and horrible. Also, I'm happy to be able to include her in the deck, because I like the Valkyries, I like the concept, but they're really eh. Next up, Charlotte, wielder of the sacred spirit. 3 blue, super color heavy, and 1. Attack 0, defense 0. Hold on. Barrier, total cost equal to or less than a number of cards in your hand. So, whatever they have, if its total cost is less than the number of cards in your hand, they can't hurt her with it. Usually with this type of deck, because she draws you a card when she enters the field, you're going to have 4 to 5 cards, so basically everything is out the window as far as targeting her. She's always going to have the best barrier. Now, if your opponent is a discard deck, you maybe want to rethink your life. Now, also remember, this card gains plus 200 for each card in your hand. That is an ability. We know what our J-Ruler does with abilities. So, later on in the game, you'll have 3 or 4 cards in hand, most likely. Let's assume 4, because between 3 and 5 is usually what I find myself at. So, 4, she's going to be an 800 on the field, but then you flip, she's a 16. And if you happen to have a really good game where your hand is just full, like you've played lots of Tamas and Charlottes, and you have like a full 5-card hand, or even a full 7-card hand, because 7's the discard. If you have a full 7-card hand, she's going to be a 28. Yes. She becomes an amazing body that can swing all day and be super broken and evil. And I love her. She is beautiful. Also keep in mind that her barrier, because the total cost equal to or less than the number of cards in your hand, if you have 1 or more cards in your hand, they cannot target her with J/Ruler abilities. So keep that in mind. She's just a really strong card. I put her in a lot of decks just because I like her, but Some may say Misty Dragon Spirit, but I say nay! Charlotte has the buff. Next up, we have the last Resonator for the blue deck, which, by the way, is called Little Red and Blues, or Little R&B. I'm witty. Viola, Treacherous Maiden. 1 green and 1 for a 600/600 quick cast. When this card enters the field, target J Resonator gains plus 200/200 and flying and becomes a dragon until end of turn. So the +2/+2 and flying is what we use her for. She's also quick cast Resonator. The fact that it's on a body for 2 is godly. So you play a 6/6, you have a 6/6 that's then buffed by the rest of whatever you play, but also something you control becomes a flying monster dragon. Now, if you're playing Kirik, maybe hold back because they might have a Heavenly Sundering Dragon Palm, which is crazy. But other than that, she's just really good. She also has Banish this card, remove up to 2 cards in a single graveyard from the game. This is really good versus anything with Remnant or even like Grave play stuff. Like if a Reanimator deck shows its face, you can just remove her. You can just be like, okay, banish, remove those 2, and your opponent goes, well, shit. That's the last Resonator for this video, but we still have other spells. Beastly Attack. Actually, it's just 1 spell. This is the last spell in the lineup. It is awesome. I have so many awful, terrible, horrible memories of this card. It is infamous among my play group because there was a guy in our group who played this and a tree deck and would stall, and then throw this on the Priscia Beast Queen in Hiding. For those of you who don't know, Priscia Beast Queen in Hiding, every buff that is applied to her is doubled. So he played this on her, giving her +12/+12, and whenever this card deals... Okay, so target attacking Resonator gains +600/+600, and whenever this card deals damage to a Resonator, it deals that much damage to your opponent until end of turn. So the ame-no effect, but this is on a Chan instant. Oh my god. And I can tell you, having staring down a Beast Queen in Hiding with a Beastly Attack on it is not fun. It's not fun, and I hate it. So this deck is going to do the exact same thing, only now you can use it on all your Resonators, as long as your J-Ruler is flipped. Even if she's not flipped, actually. Like, if you swing with a Lancelot, and then his... Oh, fun tech. You swing with the Lancelot, his ability goes on the stack. However, it does not check his attack until the ability resolves. So you can attack with him, and then if your opponent debuffs him, his ability won't trigger. But you can then beastly attack him to make him a 12/12. His ability will then check after that, deal 700 damage to something. Then this card, having given him the ability, will deal 700 damage to your opponent. Also, he'll be a 12/12 unblockable. Basically unblockable. Unless you have some prevent all damage that would be dealt by, or dealt to, or some way to prevent his damage. Is beautiful. Now, it does cost 3 total, so it's a bit hard to use. But it's an amazing late game finisher. Even if you just throw it on a Tama, if you have your J-Ruler, that Tama is going to be now at 14/14 unblockable. It explains itself. The entire deck is amazing. I love Little Red. And now, you're welcome. I definitely didn't do this on purpose just to show off this wallpaper. However, I will now show you the beauty that is Little R&B. Yeah, look at it. It's cleverly named, and it's green and blue. Woo! It uses Kaguya's Stone of Sorrow, which is arguably the best stone in the game. But whatever, hey, it's cool. Yay! Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have a Little Red list of your own, definitely bring it. I'd love to see it. Also, if you liked how this video is formatted, or if you did not, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Jazz hands.